Hi, this is Nick Lalonde, your host of What's Next, making your third act your best act. Today you're going to hear from Bill McShane. And for anyone who knows Bill, he's an inspiration. He was diagnosed with Parkinson's during COVID, and if you ever get the chance to meet him, you'll find that this diagnosis does not slow him down. What stuck out to me in my conversation with Bill is that he's still putting in 12 to 14-hour days, looks at obstacles as opportunities, and has done a ton of self-reflection on what's important to him. Be sure to listen in when Bill talks about how he would spend his time if he wasn't working 12 to 14 hours a day. I hope that you'll enjoy my conversation with Bill as much as I did. Hey everyone, thank you so much for tuning into What's Next. It's your host, Nick Lalonde, and today I'm so excited we have Bill McShane on the show. Bill, thank you so much for coming on the show today.
Thank you, Nick. It's great to be here.
So Bill, you're based out of Oklahoma. There's a pretty big win that just happened here recently, right? Kind of a historic win.
Absolutely. My Lady Sooners won the women's softball national title for the fourth straight time.
Now you're not like a bandwagon fan where you just decide to hop on after they won their fourth. Like you've followed this journey from the first one on, right?
I have, yes, I have.
That's awesome.
Oklahoma's my alma mater too, so.
You know what's funny is I think women's sports are overtaking men's sports here because like the women's NBA like is getting fantastic ratings. But I remember just with Caitlin Clark here recently this past year in college basketball, I mean, that got higher viewerships, their Final Four, than the men's Final Four this year for like the first time.
Yeah, it's just sort of incredible. And it's so nice to see. What a nice change and what a great advancement for women's sports too. So
it's amazing.
It sure is.
Bill, if you wouldn't mind just sharing your journey with us. So you started out as a fantastic sales rep and you created your own company about 8 years ago, right?
Yes, sir.
And that's Summit Marketing Group. And you oversee furniture and bedding, right? The sales side of things.
Yes.
What's that been like just being a business owner and that transition from employee to now owner 8 years ago?
Well, it's been great. It's something that I really wanted to do, and I had the opportunity come up when it did. I was living in Denver, Colorado, and I was on a train coming back from LA for 7 days. I'd been in traffic, and I had the invitation to come out to Minneapolis to look at the territory, and I jumped at it and got on a plane and flew out and looked at everything and just said, "This is my dream. I'm ready." And I moved from Denver to Minneapolis in about 3 days. In a trailer and my truck. So
yeah. And so you started at 55, 63 now, correct?
Yes.
As you think about your retirement journey though, what's that been like for you? When you think about retirement, what thoughts or feelings come to mind?
Well, it's been a real push and pull of motion back and forth about what do I do to stay busy? What am I going to do when I just leave this position? And how am I going to transition? And I think there's some trepidation that you have naturally just to give it thought and really decide on what it is I want to concentrate on and what I want to do. And so it causes you a lot of thought and energy spent trying to figure out, all right, what do I need to do to stay busy and stay happy? And I think that's the big decision I have to make is what do I find that I'll really enjoy doing in my spare time, or what can I transition to, or do I start another business, or do I become more of an entrepreneur, or what should I do? So there's a lot of thought that goes into it, and not a lot of solutions right now, but
Yeah. So I'm curious, it sounds like, one of your fears is, where does this newfound time go? Do I start a new business? Do I pick up new hobbies? In what moments though are you feeling the biggest push and pull, or where is your head at when you feel the most push and pull?
I think it's at night, when you finish and you've done all the work you can do on the computer, or you've traveled, or you finish the last phone call and you start thinking about, well, I'm not going to think about work and what do I need to do, and then you're reminded of, well, I've got a short window, and I start to think, what should I do with my spare time, and it really compounds when you talk to your grandkids and your daughter and everybody on the phone, and you begin to really think a lot more about what you're going to do, and so it causes you to spend a lot more time thinking about what I need to do to figure out what I'm going to do to be happy, and occupy my time and things of that nature. So
And are you happy today in the work you're doing and how you're spending your
I
time?
am, yeah, very happy. It's very fulfilling. I've always enjoyed helping people, so this is a nice job that allows you to help your customers. And even with things tough financially or tough economically right now, you're seeing a lot of businesses that are really challenged by the conditions out there, or the non-customers that don't come through the door. And when you talk to them, they're really vulnerable, or they reach out to you and say, "Hey, how are you doing? What are you hearing? And what's going on out there?" So you feel a little bit of an obligation to make sure they're all right. And I've always enjoyed doing that. And I have a large enough territory now that I can pretty much do it full time. So,
Hmm. So one of the things I want to go back to, so 63 today,
mhm.
and you're really happy, feeling really fulfilled in what you're doing. Is there
Yeah.
a reason that you need to stop anytime soon? I mean, why couldn't you go until 75 doing what you're doing today?
Well, I mentioned earlier that I had Parkinson's. I got it during COVID. So it's forced me to really think about what I'm going to do with my life, and how much time do I have? And it causes you to really think a lot about, time in general. And am
Mm,
I going to be all right in the long run, or is this going to get gradually worse as I get older? Or how is it going to affect me? So time becomes more of an important factor to you because you're trying to figure out, right? Do I need to spend time with my grandkids more and my daughter, and do I need to spend more time in Oklahoma and not travel and things of that nature? So I feel the need to, be with my family and think about, the important things in life, and those are certainly two of the most important things to me right now. So,
mm.
yeah.
So you got your Parkinson's diagnosis in 2020. So it sounds
Mhm.
like this is something that you've been living with for 4 years. You love
Yes.
the work you do, but
Mhm.
you feel torn at the same time because you have a daughter in Oklahoma, you have
Mhm.
grandkids in Oklahoma, and time is now very precious, right? It
Yes.
could be that you know you don't know how many years, whether that's 5, 10, 15, 30 years, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, do you feel like you're giving up one for the other? Do you feel like you have to step away from work today in order to really be able to see your daughter and your grandkids?
No, but the thing that you worry about or think about more so is, uh, can I do it without having to hurry to get back to work? Or I can always work wherever I go, so that's nice. And that's the one thing that I've always enjoyed about doing this is I have the ability to carry my office anywhere I go. I have a virtual office, really. I can do it from anywhere I'm sitting, or have
Hmm.
access to a phone or a computer. So it's nice from that aspect. But you have to go out and really actively talk to your customer base. And I don't like the idea of not talking to them face to face and not being able to do that as well. So that's why I travel, and I enjoy that part of it too, because you get everybody's like family after a while. You've known them for 7 or 8 years now, and everybody's doing well, or they're supporting you the way they should. And so you try to be equal in the things that you do for them. And that's, in my opinion, that's what a good business will do. And you support each other and you help each other through the good times and bad. So
Do you have any fears about stepping away from work?
no, not so much fears. I think it's just the ability to feel comfortable about what I'm doing, and what I'm going to do if I decide to slow down. And what is it that I need to find, or what should I find to do, or how am I going to occupy my time? And it's really the biggest challenge that I have right now, is trying to come to that conclusion about, am I going to be happy, and is this the right thing? But I feel like anything I do will be good, and I've always been pretty good about landing on my feet, and I've always had that attitude of I can overcome and do whatever I need to do. So I feel pretty good about it. So
How do you think you'd fill your time?
That's a great question. I thought, well, maybe I should start a business, or maybe I could just do mattress by appointment or something like that. And I have a lot of friends who do that, so I know that business pretty well. And I sell to a lot of people who have businesses that are similar. So I understand the concept of how it works and how to market it and how to do it, and that would be fine. But it's one of those things where you go back and you're working with customers directly and not doing what I do now, where I'm managing my business and looking at it from a different aspect. This would be completely different. It would take me into more of a customer direct access and people direct access. So I have to, prepare myself to do that, and see how I feel about doing that after, years of not doing it. So
You know, I love your response here, and it made me chuckle a little bit because here you are, you're a business owner that's looking to sell a business, and then what you would do with your free time is maybe go start a new business, right?
yeah,
But it reminds me of a story that I read in E-Myth. Have you ever read that book?
I have not, no, I haven't.
You'll have to check it out. So in E-Myth, it's talking about a small business owner. She was this wonderful pie creator, right? Great baker, and she ends up creating a bakery. And what comes with the bakery is now you're managing people, now you're managing payroll, right? Uh, you got to deal with complaints, sweeping the floor.
Sure.
She no longer was doing the stuff she loved, which was selling the actual pies that she was making and interacting with people with the pies. And so what I heard you say is, maybe you'd move away from running a business to more of the fun stuff, right? The customer interaction.
Right.
That's the
Yeah.
stuff you'd really enjoy. So when you say that you would maybe sell a business to then start a new business, it's maybe on a smaller scale. It's not necessarily for money, but it's more for the just the enjoyment, right?
Right.
And
Exactly.
providing value to uh, potential future customers. Is that right?
Exactly. Yep. Exactly.
So starting a business, and that's one that I maybe could have guessed, right? Typically, entrepreneurs don't stop being entrepreneurs after they sell their
Right.
business, right?
That's
They always
exactly
have that
right.
entrepreneurial itch. What are some other things that you would do to fill your time?
Well, I think, it's interesting. I started playing the guitar when I was about 8 years old, and I've done it on and off throughout the years, but with Parkinson's, it's more of a challenge. And I thought, I could concentrate on doing some of that too, because I enjoy it. I've always enjoyed music and things of that nature. So I'll work a little bit on that, I think. And, I think that's something that would really make me happy, is being able to play a chord or a bar correctly without having my hands move or shake. So
I love it. So you got guitar, maybe the new business, but it's on a smaller scale, maybe less demanding, less travel
mm,
involved.
yeah.
Maybe visiting with family.
Mm.
So grandkids, daughter in Oklahoma. Anything else that really comes to mind as you've done some brainstorming?
Yeah, just trying to find that niche where I'm happy and I've got a good balance, and I'm not working 12 or 14 hours a day and like I do now. And I think coming to that perfect balance would be really nice, and something that I'd welcome too is a little slower pace and little more time to give thought into what I want to try and do and what I'd like to do, and not so much driven by the intangibles that go along with running a business and things of that nature. So
Yeah. It's interesting. One of the things I've noticed from sitting down with high achievers like yourself, right, is at some point, at some age in their life, they start to value their time
uh-huh.
more than their money, right?
Mhm.
And when we're young, oftentimes we're willing to give our time away for more money.
Yeah.
At what age did you say, hey, my time is now more valuable than maybe earning that extra dollar?
I think when I got Parkinson's, it forced me to come to that conclusion about, all right, this is real and I've got to deal with it, and I've got to have an attitude of dealing with it, or not giving into it. So I've always been a very competitive person, so that to me was important. But I think it helped me quickly realize that I needed to, become more understanding about time, and it's not something that's going to be a constant forever. So I need to really, learn about what I need to do to spend more time, quality time with my family, and slowing down and really learning how to run my business more efficiently, and not so much for the aspects of I can earn tons of money doing this, and I'll just work, day and night to do it. And now it's, I guess, working smarter and not harder. So,
And so you're still putting in 12 to 14-hour days though, right now. Why is that?
I think I'm used to it, but I have a habit of, when people call and need anything, I pick up the phone, and it's something that I've always been told that I was good at, and that I always followed through with my customers, and I always tried to help them understand, what I do and what I'm trying to do for them. So they kind of take advantage of it in a way, but it's also good because it keeps me on my toes and keeps me thinking. But you sit there sometimes on the weekends and you say, "Wow, that was a busy weekend, and I didn't even intend on staying that busy, and I
Mm.
was going to do all these things, but I didn't because I kind of sidetracked or went in a different direction than I really started out wanting to do." So
So it sounds like the recognition, right? Feeling valued as well and
yeah.
appreciated for the work you do. I mean, people say, "Hey, you're really good at this," and your follow up is excellent. But the other thing I heard was uh, slowing down, right? You like to stay busy. Is there any fear around slowing down?
Well, yeah, I guess to some degree, yes. You feel like if you just don't want to become irrelevant, I guess is the right word, and you want to stay focused enough to stay relevant in your business, and keep everything the way it is, and you want to stay at certain levels that you've enjoyed, and financially, and also time wise. And it's a constant juggle of time and money and effort and energy and everything. And I think that's the challenge for me, is where do I find that perfect balance, and how do I come to that perfect balance? And I don't think there's a right answer, but I'm
Yeah. That's so cool. I appreciate you sharing that, right? You mentioned somewhere you said, feeling irrelevant. I think that's something that a lot of high achievers feel, right? As they're transitioning away maybe from their business or maybe the company that they worked so hard to climb the corporate ladder for. But I mean, think about this. You're at the top of the mountain right now, right? And most people want to stay at the top of the mountain, but naturally we have to descend from the top of the mountain at some point. And where do most people end up getting injured or maybe even die? It's on the descent. It's not going up the mountain. It's going down the mountain.
true.
And so I that's one of the reasons why in my wealth management practice we named our company Third Act Wealth Management, is because I often find that people view the second act of their life as maybe the peak, when we believe the third act could be your peak. So just to walk you through the three acts of life, the first act is about learning. The
Mhm,
second act is about growing, accumulating, and building. And the third act is about finding fresh purpose and identity.
mhm,
And so as I'm hearing you talk, and you can correct me if you think you're in a different stage, but I feel like you're in your second act today and you're
mhm.
thinking about inching towards that third act of life.
Exactly.
And,
Yeah.
and so you've been so used to climbing, right, the top of the mountain, and like you said, you're worried about becoming irrelevant or maybe slowing down, and there's a certain pace that's required to maintaining being at the top of the mountain. Um, but I think it's really beautiful though, the folks when they enter into this third act, and it might be a new business for you. It might
Mhm.
be playing the guitar. It might be volunteering or spending more time with family, but it is
Sure.
all about finding fresh purpose and identity. And it used to be that people thought of retirement as the end, right? And I think the third act is a new beginning actually.
Uh, I was going to say that's how I've looked at it now. Is feels like a new beginning for me, and I think that's the best way to look at it with everything that's going on too. Is it gives you a fresh perspective and fresh energy and fresh outlook on everything you're trying to do. So that's a bonus and a positive for me. So
Yeah. So I'm curious, right? What are you going to do to make your transition from your second act of life to your third act of life a successful one?
It's a great question. I think, being diligent in my thought process about how I approach it and what I do and staying positive is really important. I know with Parkinson's, as I mentioned, it's really important to maintain a positive outlook and just can do and attitude and just having the energy and maintaining your energy level to stay busy and go out and do everything you need to do to move forward. And that to me is the most important part of what I'm doing right now is really just maintaining that level of attitude and you know um, energy level. So
Well, you're amazing in that regard. I mean, I know when you first shared with me that you had Parkinson's, I never would have guessed. And I just think you're an inspiration to so many because you are today, you're putting in those 12 to 14-hour days, right? You're going hard. And you have a fantastic outlook on life. So I do think that your second act of life, as you transition to your third act, I think that's going to be really successful for you.
thank
But
you.
I think it is important to be really intentional about making that a success, right?
I agree.
And do you think it would be challenging though to go from like today you're going at 100 miles per hour? Would that be challenging to go from 100 to 0 overnight? Like if someone just said, "Hey Bill, you can't work tomorrow," right?
I think, yeah, it would be a challenge and it would be hard. I think you'd go through a little bit of withdrawal and maybe a little bit behavioral change would be good, but to go from fast to stop is really hard to do for a lot of people. And I think
Hmm.
you see a lot of people who really have a hard time transitioning through that. I worked in the oil field when I was in college. I remember one of the older gentlemen that retired from work one day went home and he died like a week later just because he didn't have anything to do. And he just felt worthless. And I've always remembered that. And I've always thought about it too, because he was such a nice guy. And, we sure missed him around the field and the office when he was gone. But it really made you think too that you need to have something to do or a purpose that you're driven by to focus and move forward with as you transition out of your work into a new life and a new role or a new job or any kind of a new transition in your life. You have to be ready and you have to psychologically get yourself to a point where you're ready to do that, and it's important. So
And so this guy that you worked with, right? He worked in the oil fields with you. Is that
mhm,
right? And he died 5 days after he retired.
yeah, 5 days after he retired.
And how long had he worked in the oil fields? I mean, was this like his entire life?
Yeah, he was like a teenager when he started, and he had done this his entire life, and then he had nothing to do. And I think the shock of not having anything to do, and maybe it could have been his financial condition too, but the shock of not having anything to do was just so overwhelming to him that
Wow.
yeah, and you have to think about things like that too. And it's something that I've always thought about ever since I went through that and witnessed it. And it makes you really think, wow, I need to prepare to, slow down and get ready to make a change. And whether it's, playing the guitar or something, or just hanging out at the beach or watching the waves go by, you just need to get yourself in that position to do that and get ready to be psychologically ready to make that change. And so
Who do you seek out for resources on this type of stuff? I mean, do you listen to podcasts? Do you read books? Do you have friends who are retired?
I do. I have friends that are retired. I speak to them pretty much every week. I have a good friend in Dallas who's retired recently. He and his wife retired about a week apart. So they went from never seeing each other to being around each other every day, and to the point of just driving themselves up the wall. So it's kind of funny, but you learn from the people around you. I've drawn from the people around me, so that's always been a good thing. And I've got a lot of great resources in the friends I have and family that I have, so that's good. And the other thing is, I think being able to read and access the internet and look at, hard questions and get answers that you look for or haven't had time to look at, you can always get on Google and look things up and research. So that's always good. And that's one of the great things about the technology age we're in. And you have the ability to resolve a lot of things that you never had before. And the other thing that's interesting is Parkinson's is such an odd disease that there's really no cure for it. And so you can look all over the internet for people who've done different things because our brains are wired differently. Everybody's brain's different. So if something works for somebody, it may not work for you, and vice versa.
Mm.
So I spend a lot of time on the web researching and looking at different things that help people and what, you try to emulate or pick up on cures or things that help people and see if that works. And they encourage you to do that. So it's
And it
kind of an
seems
odd
like
disease. Yeah.
is the number one thing there, though. I mean, maybe the common thread for Parkinson's is being positive and maintaining that positive outlook. Is that right?
I agree. Yes. I think it's probably 100% probably the most important part of what I do is maintaining just a positive attitude and being positive around other people. And I've had a lot of people tell me that, wow, you're such an inspiration because you're so positive. And I laugh because I just, I've gotten in the habit of saying, all right, I can do this if I want to. How bad do I want to do it? And things like that. And so I just say that, and people are like, wow, how do you do that? And I said, well, I just tell myself I'm going to be there and show up, and I do, what I need to do. And it's interesting. I've also kind of renewed my faith in my fellow man because we hear all this negativity on the news.
Mm.
Everybody's talking about, oh, our, this so and so got this happened or this happened at the mall, and I've experienced the opposite. When I travel, I've had people help me, come up to me and say, I notice you're shaking. Are you all right? Are you cold? Or you're like, no, I do it because I've got Parkinson's. And they'll laugh and say, oh, I'm so sorry. And I said, no, it's great. And I love hearing it, and it inspires me. And people look at you like, well, wow, that's funny. That's a small thing to get inspired by. And I say, yeah, but it's amazing to see how many good people are out there and how many people actually care and say something or actually try to help you when you're having a hard time. And
That's
so it's,
amazing, Bill.
yeah, yeah, it's
I
true.
my takeaway, right, when people say, "Hey, how are you maintaining this positive outlook on life and demeanor?" It's your self-talk, right?
Yeah, yeah,
I
it
mean, you
is.
you have a really, really good self-talk. It
Yeah,
reminds me, I did a summer internship in college where I sold books door to door with a company
wow,
called Southwestern Advantage.
that's
And
tough.
so, yeah, I did it all across the country. But one of the things they really had us focus on, because we were out there selling for 12 plus hours a day,
Wow.
1,000 miles away from home, is what you tell yourself. And one of the things that was kind of like a famous line they taught you is, I'm happy, I'm healthy, and I'm terrific, right?
Absolutely, yeah.
And so you took me back to my summer college internship in that moment when you were talking about your self-talk. Well,
Yeah.
Bill, this has been a fantastic conversation day. I really appreciate your time. I think you're an inspiration to so many, and I appreciate you just being vulnerable. I think our
Appreciate it.
listeners will be able to relate to the fact that, hey, you've made it to the top of the mountain, and what's next, right, can sometimes
Right.
be challenging. It can be daunting, but it doesn't
Uh-huh.
have to be scary. It can actually be a really positive thing, right? It's a new
Yes,
beginning.
absolutely, yes.
All righty, sir. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Nick. Have a great evening.
You
Take
too.
care.
Take care. Bye.